Yeah, good afternoon, YouTube. So finally got my beadlock rims and new tires mounted after I got the broken bolts drilled out, which I'll show you later in this video. Really like the look of the new tires and wheels, and they seem to be holding air pretty good. I've got tire pressure monitoring system, and I haven't lost a single PSI now in about 2 weeks, so I think they're holding air. So let's take a look at how I fixed those broken bolts in the beadlocks and show you how to repair those. I had a bunch of broken bolts I had to drill out. So let's take a look at that. So these are the wheels and tires for my Toyota 4Runner, and these are beadlock rims, and they've got 24 bolts around the edge that you bolt the beadlock rim down. But I've got a couple of them that have bolts that broke off inside, and I need to drill those out. So you can see here's the stud, or the bolt that broke off down in the threaded insert down there. So I want to try to drill that out without damaging the threads. So what I did was I made myself this little drilling jig, and I made it so that I matched the bolt pattern, 3 bolts. Screw 2 of the bolts in, and then what I have is a left-handed drill bit. So what this is a 3/8 inch steel tube with a 1/4 inch hole, and then I have a 1/4 inch left-handed bit, and the tube basically works as a drill guide to keep me in the middle of the bolt while I drill. A lot of times just drilling backwards will force the broken off bolt out, and if it doesn't come out, then I run a little tap down there. So let me give this a try, and I'll show you how it works here. Yeah, and there you can see I'm starting to bring up some shaving, so just have to drill slowly and make sure I keep the drill nice and straight up and down. And using that drill guide, you can see how it holds the drill vertical there. And that's a good way to make sure you drill nice vertical holes. So I've had to drill a couple of these out, and I think I've got this one and one more that I've got to drill. I'll show you what it looks like when I get the hole down there a little deeper. Okay, so what I like to do once I drill the hole down a little ways is I have one of these square fluted screw extractors, and I drill the hole just big enough to get one of these in and tap it in and see if I can back the bolt out with that. And if that doesn't work, then I just drill a little bit deeper until I basically drill through the center of the bolt, and then I use the tap to get rid of the thread. So kind of do it in a couple of steps. Okay, YouTube, we finally got that piece out of there. This one I couldn't get it to tap out. You can see how the drill went through and pretty much just left the threads. And then what I did was use this to kind of pop down the sides and just push the threads away from the threaded insert, and now I've got a nice clean hole all the way through. So I can put my bolt in. You can see here. So those are 5/16 by 18 bolts. Okay, finally had success, YouTube. Got the last of the broken off bolts drilled out of my beadlock, and you can see how well my jig worked. I was able to spin the threads out of this hole with the drill bit, and you can see the only thing left there are the threads. So I was able to actually use the left-handed drill bit to spin those out. I had to drill all the way through the hole with the jig, because the one problem is the jig prevents the bolt threads from coming back up. So I had to drill down, and then I was able to loosen the threads and use the drill, which is a left-handed bit, so that just spun the threads right out of the hole. So that jig works pretty good. Made this a number of years ago, but the way I did that was I just traced the outline, you can see there, of the beadlock ring onto a block of aluminum, and then I just scribed a line along that radius and then set my bolt holes. Did that all just drilled on a drill press. And I think what I did was I probably drilled one hole and then bolted it down and then marked where the other hole would be. Kind of got the two ends, and then I think I used like a compass or scribe to find the midpoint here to drill the third hole. And then I drilled this just a little bit undersized, so I had to press this tubing in. So that's just a press fit in there, and then that tubing just had the right inner diameter to fit my left-handed drill bits. That's one way you can get bolts out of a beadlock without damaging the threaded insert that's down below there. So they have the hole in the aluminum is oversized, and then down in the bottom there you can probably just barely see the threads. They're actually threaded inserts that are down below the ring. And I got one of them put back together here just to show you. There's three I've got to do. And then I've got this one I've put back together, and I'm using grade 8 bolts. And these bolts have a high endurance anti-corrosion coating on them, because I think that's what happened to my old bolts. Between the dissimilar metals, there was some corrosion got set up, and the bolts rusted inside the threaded inserts. When I tried to remove them, that's when they broke. That's what I'm using. It's called Armor Coat 5/16 by 18 Armor Coat hex head cap screws. Got these from McMaster Carr. This is the reason I was taking the bolts out, because I got these new recessed rings. You can see the bolt head is below the surface of the ring. So I was taking the old rings off, and then that's where my bolts broke. That's one way. If you have some broken bolts on a beadlock rim that you need to take out, that's one way to drill them without damaging the threaded inserts. Anyway, any questions, put that in the comments section below. You can subscribe to my channel for updates. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, thanks for watching.